2020 and 2021 MLB offseason has a chance to be one of the crazier offseasons in sports the last couple seasons. Not only do we have prime free agents to sign, but we also have 5, maybe even 6 superstars that could be on the move within the next week or 2. So that's what we're gonna do today, is break down all of these superstar players that are most likely going to get traded in the next year, and if not in the next offseason, by the trade deadline of next season 2021. So thank you all so much for stopping by. Hit the like button if you want to see more videos like this, and without further ado, let's start talking baseball. The amount of disrespect that I have seen tossed at Nolan Arenado's name is unbelievable. Even one guy on Twitter said that Nolan Arenado is not good. Sure, he is not the best road player, and a lot of people would say that the Coors Field effect plays a role in him being but you're talking about the best defender at his position since Mike Schmidt. And on top of that, if you look at his OPS plus, which actually factors in the ballpark that he plays in, he has a 120 career OPS plus after a down 2020 season. That is 20 points above average. You are getting a superstar in Nolan Arenado. So I think a couple different teams that could use him. One, the Dodgers. He would look great in a Dodger blue uniform. The Rangers, they desperately need a new third baseman of the future. I know they have Josh Jung, but maybe they can use him as a trade piece. Arenado might be the first player on the Rockies to go, but if it's not Arenado because he just got a fat contract along with Charlie Blackmon, maybe the Rockies can't afford our next player, Trevor Story. Everyone and their mother seems to want Francisco Lindor on their squad via trade going into the 2021 season. But one shortstop that is flying under the radar is Trevor Story, because we all know that Nolan Arenado just got a fat contract from the Rockies. They also gave a big contract to Chuck Nasty. So what does that mean? A, they're going to have to trade Nolan Arenado to afford Trevor Story, or they have to bite the bullet and trade away Trevor Story because they can't afford him. Every single team should be lining up to get this guy on their squad, because he's almost a better version of Francisco Lindor after what I saw in 2020. Now, it was the gap was a little wider going into last season because Lindor was just so great for so long. Again, he was coming off 3 consecutive seasons of 40 doubles and 30 home runs. We'll talk about that in a second. That is otherworldly. But Trevor Story has closed the gap along with Fernando Tatis Jr. as the best shortstop in baseball. He's going to hit you 30 home runs. He's going to steal you 20 bags. He plays some of the best defense I've ever seen. He has a hose. Basically, what I call Trevor Story is a faster version of Troy Tulowitzki, and he strikes out a little bit more as well. So I think the Mets, honestly, if they can't get Lindor, Trevor Story is your next best bet. The Reds, the Phillies, it could definitely happen. I fully see Trevor Story getting moved in the next season or 2 because the Rockies, they can't afford him. It's plain and simple. It is common knowledge that Francisco Lindor is one of the best defensive shortstops in all of baseball, and we all know that he is going to get traded. The Phillies, the Mets, the Cardinals, the Yankees, they could all use a good shortstop. Now, the Cardinals, maybe not so much because they do have Paul DeJong, but maybe you shift him to third base. Maybe you put him at second base because Colton Wong is not going to return. The thing about Francisco Lindor that people are forgetting is the fact that he is one of 5 players ever, I'm talking the entire history of Major League Baseball, to have 40 doubles and 30 home runs in 3 consecutive seasons. And the cherry on top is he can steal you 15 to 20 bags, and of course we all know he plays elite defense. If you don't think that you're going to have to give up a haul for this man, even at a discount because he wasn't that great in 2020, it's still going to require a ton of pieces. Lindor is not going to be on the Indians. They're going to trade him ASAP, and honestly, I think he goes to the Mets, and in return, the Indians are going to get Ahmed Rosario and JD Davis. That's my prediction, but Lindor, he's for sure gone. Coming up next, we're going to go ahead and talk about the first pitcher in today's video, and that is left-handed closing pitcher Josh Hader. If you don't remember, back in 2018, Josh Hader set an MLB record by striking out 16 consecutive hitters. Also, a few years ago, he set the record for 136 strikeouts as a lefty reliever. That is the most of all time. He passed up John Hiller, who struck out 134 back in 1974. So Josh Hader is immaculate. He did that in just 77 innings, whereas Hiller did it in 150. So half the innings. This guy is special. Now, 2020 was a down season, but you can't really look too much into it because as a closing pitcher, if you give up 2 earned runs or 3 earned runs in a shortened season, your ERA is going to skyrocket. So we do have to be concerned about his walk and his strikeout ratios going in the opposite direction in 2020, but I think he'll be back to normal. And the Red Sox are a perfect team for him, as well as the Angels, the Blue Jays. The Phillies were on my radar, but honestly, I think they're going to try and get Brad Hand or Liam Hendricks. So if we're talking about trades, the Red Sox could really use him, because I don't know if Josh Taylor is going to be your guy of the future, and who else do they have at the back end of that bullpen? The Blue Jays, awesome, and also the Angels, they need bullpen help. If they sign hitters this offseason, I'm going to fly to California and slap that GM, because they do not need offense. They are perfectly fine on that end. They need pitching, and they better start with Josh Hader. The only player on today's list that has both a Rookie of the Year and MVP is Kris Bryant. And Kris Bryant might be the #1 guy on today's list to get traded, because if we look at the stats over the course of his career, he has been a machine offensively until 2020. We're at 28 years old in 34 games. Emphasis on the 34 games. If this was a regular season where Corona didn't exist, he most likely breaks out of that slump, and he doesn't look like the worst hitter in baseball, with 4 home runs, a .206 batting average, and a .644 OPS. Again, a full season, he most likely breaks out of that, but a lot of people are saying, get him out of Chicago. He is not going to deserve the $20 to $25 million that he's most likely going to get once his contract is up. And also, Javier Baez is not getting any younger either, and his ceiling seems to have been capped off from the 2019 season. So is he going to get better? At this point, we have to decide, just like Arenado and Trevor Story, it's the same situation, a third baseman and a shortstop. Who do you trust more going forward? If I was the Chicago Cubs, I would stick it out with Javier Baez. I would trade away Kris Bryant, because Javier Baez was so awful. His trade value is pretty much, it's still there, but it's not the same as Kris Bryant. I think that you can get away with a trade to the Braves, possibly the Dodgers, the Phillies, or the Rangers, all teams that are starving for third basemen. Maybe not so much the Phillies, because Alec Boehm, he was called up and he showed that he can be a pretty decent Major League Baseball player. But Kris Bryant, after that horrible 2020 campaign, the trade value is certainly not as high, but he's a Rookie of the Year and MVP. You at least have to put some respect on his name. He's not someone that you can just throw cookies down the middle and get away with it. He was in a slump. It happens to everyone. Get over it. Breaking news as I'm recording this video, it is being reported that a brand new team has emerged in the thick of things to try and acquire Kris Bryant. I don't know why I did not think of this team before I made this video, because they've been trying to get a replacement third baseman for 2 years now, because Anthony Rendon left the Nationals. The Nationals are all in on trying to trade for Kris Bryant, and if this happens, I am going to be, Trey Turner, Juan Soto, and Kris Bryant in the same lineup is not fair. So in regards to superstar players, I truly feel like Kris Bryant was the last cream of the crop player. Now what we're going to do is talk about the maybe up-and-coming stars or players that have been in baseball for quite some time that honestly, they deserve to start winning now that they're towards the twilight of their career. So we'll talk about those players in just a second. Maybe a Lance Lynn, maybe a Kyle Seager. Don't go anywhere, because I made great cases for them. I want them to get some World Series rings under their belt. But for right now, let's talk about some Yankees players. 2 of them, in fact. They're young, and I think that they still have quite some talent to show the world. Clint Frazier and Miguel Andujar. Clint Frazier was awesome in 2020 after the Yankees continually choose to disrespect this man. They throw him out there when they need him. Then when Giancarlo Stanton or other players come back, they just shelf him. He had a .905 OPS and played great defense for the Yankees. So if they choose to trade this man, I'd be perfectly fine with it, because they have not treated him well. So he is the first Yankees player that I think deserves to be on another team. The Indians would be a perfect fit. That is the only team that I'm actually going to reference, because if Francisco Lindor gets traded to the Yankees, Clint Frazier is going to have to go back in return, because the Indians desperately need offensive help and defensive help in the outfield. Now, another Yankees player that I do think is going to get traded simply because they're not using him, they don't have room for him, Miguel Andujar, who barely lost the Rookie of the Year back in 2018, I believe it was, to Shohei Ohtani. He was injured throughout 2019, so he was unable to show the world that he can still hit at a high level. He returned in 2020 and was kind of a bust, so the Yankees are looking to offload his contract, even though it's really not that much. They just want to probably get him off the team, give him a brand new fresh start. Tons of teams like the Cardinals, I think, would probably be able to use him, but I don't know if he's going to get traded until Major League Baseball and Robert Manfred agree if the DH is going to be coming back to both leagues or not. Same with Nelson Cruz. Where is he going to sign? Who knows, because we don't know if the National League is going to have a DH. Now, if the NL does bring back the DH, I fully expect the Cardinals to try and get in on the action, maybe even the Diamondbacks. Maybe you could split some time as a DH. Maybe you could try Andujar at third base one more time. I'm not sure how that would work, but I think him going to the Diamondbacks and playing in Chase Field, that would be something special. In terms of American League teams, the Indians also are my #1 team because they need offensive help so much. They were so bad last year. The Tigers, Isaac Paredes, he seems like a decent prospect. He's not going to be the third baseman of the future. And then also the Rangers, are they going to call up Josh Jung? Are they going to trade for someone, sign for someone? I'm not too sure, so you have to include the Rangers because they need someone to replace Adrian Beltre. The guys that they've been trying to use, Todd Frazier and others, yeah, not very good. Remember how I said that we were going to talk about some players that deserve to have World Series rings under their belt? Well, Brandon Belt is not one of those players because he is a 2-time World Series winner. He also is an All-Star. Back in 2016, he erupted for an 868 OPS, and then in 2020, he had a 1015 OPS with a 2 WAR. That is amazing. He hit 309 on the season, so I think the Giants might want to move on from him simply because Joey Bart, their top prospect, he's a catcher. Who plays catcher for the San Francisco Giants? Buster Posey, their franchise superstar for over a decade now, so they're most likely going to have to put him at first base unless the DH comes back. Maybe they'll be able to squeeze in Brandon Belt somewhere. I don't think it's going to happen. So the potential trade partners, I'm going to go with the Nationals. If they can get Brandon Belt and Chris Bryant on that squad, watch the heck out. The Yankees, I know they have Luke Voit, but maybe put Luke Voit as a DH because his foot is going to be an issue. He seems to be a little bit injury riddled. Perhaps they can use Brandon Belt at first base because he actually plays great defense. And then one more team I want to throw out because this would be wild. It sucks for me as an Indians fan, but could you imagine Brandon Belt in the same lineup as Max Kepler, Eddie Rosario, Nelson Cruz, Miguel Sano, Jorge Polanco, Mitch Garver if he's actually back to being Mitch Garver, the Twins? Brandon Belt on the Twins would be disgusting in a good way. Considering the Mets just signed Marcus Stroman, I'm not sure if LYNN is still on the table. Heck, maybe they want Trevor Bauer as their #2 starter behind Jacob deGrom. But Noah Syndergaard's coming back, so I think deGrom, Syndergaard, and Stroman is an awesome 1-2-3 punch. But imagine if they added LYNN. LYNN has back-to-back seasons in which he has come in the top 6th for the Cy Young Award. That's really good. He struck out almost 250 hitters back in 2019, and then in 2020, he actually lowered his ERA from 3.6 to 3.32. He eats innings. He's an absolute machine. I think the Phillies would be awesome as well. Take a shot every time I've said the word "I think" today, because again, these are all predictions and my assumptions based off opinions, so you're going to hear a lot of that word. I'm not going to say it anymore. A few minutes ago, I talked about how there are players in Major League Baseball that should be traded simply on the basis that they deserve to win more. To be honest, I thought that LYNN was one of those guys, but then I looked at his Baseball Reference and I remembered that he won the 2011 World Series, so he's fine. He's a winner, but one player that deserves justice is Kyle Seager. Do you know that over the last, let me look at his Baseball Reference one more time. Over the last 10 years, he has accumulated a 33.2 WAR. That is amazing. He is a 114 OPS career hitter. That is fantastic as well. And as a lefty stick, the Yankees could use his services almost as bad as the Braves. The Dodgers would be a good team considering they also have Corey Seager, and he's a little bit cheaper than Justin Turner and plays better defense. And one more team, in my opinion, that could really use him, the Blue Jays. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is not going to be a third baseman. Travis Shaw most likely is not your guy. Put Kyle Seager in that lineup. He's going to instantly make them better defensively and offensively. Yeah, he's a little bit expensive, but the Blue Jays, they tasted success a little bit last season. Do not get comfortable Build on that. Bring Kyle Seager into your franchise and you will get better. When I was in college, one of my favorite players to watch in baseball was Wil Myers, but before that in high school, back in 2013 when I was a junior, Wil Myers won Rookie of the Year. Now fast forward to 2014-15, he was a bust, he wasn't very good, but then in 2016, his lone all-star season, the man went off for 28 home runs and 28 stolen bases. Those are fine and dandy. He only had a 797 OPS, so that's good, it's decent. In 2017, 30 home runs, 20 stolen bases. Now say what you want about his 792 OPS. Those are decent counting stats. Now I know a lot of people don't like counting stats anymore. They're very much into the sabermetrics, and you would say that yes, he had a lot of stolen bases and home runs, but he was average as a hitter because he couldn't even get to an 800 OPS. Well, in 2020, he exploded for 15 bombs, 40 RBIs in just 55 games, and it had a 959 OPS, which is crazy because in regards to the MVP voting, he only came in 16th. But two teams right off the rip that I can think of that really deserve a primetime hitter in that lineup, the Marlins, who made the playoffs the first time in 17 years, and then the rebuilding Baltimore Orioles. They just released Renato Nunez. I don't know why. He was their best home run hitter and had an 816 OPS. They just said, here, other teams, here's a free 816 OPS hitter. Makes no sense, but maybe they're trying to free up space and whatever for Wil Myers. That's my prediction. He's going to the Orioles. Ryan Mountcastle is a machine, and maybe they'll call up Adley Rutschman. What are they doing? I don't know. The Orioles are my pick. And last, but certainly not least, El Scary Gary, the Kraken, Gary Sanchez. In his last, I would say 900 at-bats, let's just round up, he's hitting 200. That is not going to cut it. He's a right-handed stick that strikes out a lot. The Yankees don't need more of Gary Sanchez. They need to get rid of him. Now, I don't know if a trade is going to happen 100%, but to me, the Phillies could use him, the Mets could use him because they don't have a catcher of the future, and Gary Sanchez's ceiling is still pretty high. And then possibly the Brewers, Manny Pena, he was in 2020, but Gary Sanchez, he requires at least a little bit of respect, even though sometimes I don't know if he could hit against some of the best college pitchers. He strikes out that much, but if you're a playoff contending team and you need some offense, maybe you should start with Gary Sanchez because as a catcher, he's the best power hitter we've ever seen. That does it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you agree or disagree with any of my picks in the comment section down below, or if I missed out on any player that you think is going to get traded, please let me know. I love to see all the feedback in the comments. If you're brand new to the channel, do not be afraid to hit the like button and subscribe if you did enjoy. Follow me on Twitch. Social media is all Fuzzy from YT, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Again, Twitch, like I mentioned, at Fuzzy from YT. I'll catch you guys there. Stay safe. Peace out.